Welcome to the Mucked Up My Self-Care podcast.
I'm Jill from New York.
And I'm Linda from Tasmania.
We are two moms from opposite sides of the world who are living, demonstrating, and helping moms across the world build their self-care asset bank.
Ready to dive in? Messy, interrupted, imperfect, and most of all mucked up. Let's get going. Hello, Jill. Good morning.
Good morning. Oh my goodness. Good evening.
Yes, I'm under my heated blanket. It's got cold all of a sudden. It is freezing.
And it's getting warm here. Oh my goodness. We got windows open while we sleep. It's my favorite time of the year. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
But I still love my heated blanket. So
yep.
Yeah.
It's the best. I'm lost without it now. Anyway. Let's go.
Do you need a second to come up with yours, or are you ready to go?
I need a second.
Okay.
So you go.
Okay. I love that we do this ahead of time in recording, but I also always feel so weird talking about what we just had happen and it not being what had happened the day that this gets released. But we just had the Sounds of Silence 5K this weekend as we're recording this now. So I am beat. I ran the most that I've run in a very long time, but I feel good about doing it. I have moved my body to its limit this weekend because right after my cycle started and it was like being hit with a ton of bricks in the midst of all of the extraneous activity that was going on this weekend. But it was still my high because it meant that, you know, I got to do all this amazing work with the Postpartum Resource Center of New York in supporting them. The event was amazing. We got to hang out with so many great volunteers and do all the activities. We ran, supported them, raised money, all the stuff. So, and then we got to clean out the garage the day after, which really put my body to the test. But now it feels so good to just sit and look at the work that we did, just like we talk about when we clean our kitchens.
Yeah.
That dopamine fix that I got this weekend, that is my high. Let's see. My low is we've been having some still difficulties. I'm not going to say difficulties. It's still been challenging in the transition to 4 with Declan. And the tantrums when he doesn't get his way are getting aggressive. And we had to put Declan in his place yesterday after a few attempted physical altercations from him. We're going to put it.
Welcome to the world.
It was very challenging and a little scary because he got in my face and I was not happy with that. So I spent 25 minutes on the toilet floor, and our toilet has like an open window sort of grate. So it was freezing. And I sat on the toilet floor until he finally calmed down enough to have a wee tonight. Because he was, not really happy with the boundary that I was putting in place, because we'd already gone through the whole routine of, right, we're going to eat this apple, then we're going to have a wee, then we're going to go to bed. And nope, he was not having a bar of it. Yes, Declan wanted to go to the skate park yesterday, but by the time we finished the garage, we had already been past dinner time and had not had dinner, and we were not making it to the skate park, and he was not happy with the no. So it took us 25 minutes to calm him down so he would be okay to eat his dinner. That was an hour behind schedule.
Yep. Yeah. Isn't it crazy? And then so very often, and this leads into my lows really, so very often your whole day feels like it's sometimes spent just trying to neutralize situations, or yes,
Oh, yes.
they go from cuddling each other to bashing each other in the space of seconds, it feels like. We're also getting to that stage as well.
Well, you share your highs and lows, Linda.
Oh, yes, the toilet was definitely a low for me tonight. It was not fun at all. And I think my high at the moment would be just some of the fitness programs, and I'm on a pretty intense program for 12 weeks at the moment with the gym. So I think I'm on about week 5 of that, and noticing increased fitness level, especially with some of the cardio stuff. So yeah, that's been good. Very good to see that progress. So yeah, and I'll be back again tomorrow to more cardio at 6 a.m. tomorrow this time.
Oh, gosh.
Because that's the only time it fits in our schedule this week. Yeah, so that's definitely been a huge plus and positive for me. And I think something that's really encouraged being able to go in the early morning at the moment is the fact I've found my quiet space. The university library is amazing. It has a whole floor dedicated to silent study. So it's very quiet, and people generally just leave you alone because they're there to study. And the academics are very different to perhaps the local people that you find in the local libraries. So that's been very nice.
Yeah, I love university libraries compared to public libraries.
And we've only really got one here. And so I just hadn't thought of it because we've only got the one university. And so I hadn't thought it was an option, and now it is an option. So it's amazing. So, yeah. Yep. So I know you're currently wrestling the morning toddler and all the rest of it.
It's so bad. I'm trying to keep him off the screen. He won't lay down. Anyway, we'll have guests today.
Yes, we will. That's
I need
all part of it. I think all of mine are actually asleep, which is quite a miracle, actually. And today we're going to be talking about self-care in postpartum.
Yes.
Which is interesting because I want to start off with postpartum and what that means, because I think we're very often led to believe that postpartum is straight after pregnancy and birth, but postpartum can also extend way past that, I believe, to maybe when they're 3 or 4 or beyond, because we know matrescence itself is quite a lengthy process, and postpartum is not just post-birth at all.
No, it is not. I mean, the postpartum period technically goes for at least 6 years before you go into, as it just, I mean, it's still just matrescence. So, but it's, 6 years. It's crazy.
Yep. And it doesn't let up.
The more kids we have, the longer that 6 years becomes, Linda.
We think we're past one stage, and then, oh, watch out, they become 3, almost 4. And then they want to be on the screen and in front of you and on your lap and all the rest of it. So it's definitely challenging at times as well. Yeah.
Well, when we talked about this at first, self-care and postpartum, what comes up for me is what we've talked about in the past also, about the basic needs and not really knowing what self-care was when I was first postpartum. And I think we have a different idea before we have children of what self-care is for us and what it needs to be. And then we're gifted someone else's wisdom of what self-care can look like for us, especially in postpartum. And it shifts our whole perspective of how to take care of ourselves and how to mother ourselves too, just as we're mothering our children and those around us. And I think it's important to bring in like that, the list that you and I have gone over now also, in what are some of the very basic ways to start your self-care out.
Yeah.
Because
Especially,
not knowing what it could be. And with the, like you were just saying, all of the stuff that comes with being a mom for the first time.
Overwhelm, tiredness, crazy kids.
Navigating children and how to be a mom.
Yeah. Especially if maybe you've got 2 under 2 or maybe 2 under 5 even. It's then the transition from being an only child to then having a sibling, or like there's that whole aspect of it as well. And there's no immediate or simple answer, I don't think, as to what self-care and postpartum looks like. So it's a tricky conversation. And I think from memory, we have been putting off this episode for a while, if I'm correct. Is that maybe for that reason?
Yeah.
But Jill, with your book just coming out as well, because you do talk a lot about self-care in postpartum, and not only that, but the postpartum experience for you as well. Why don't we rewind backwards for a second, if you can, and talk about what postpartum looked like for you?
Not much self-care at all. I will say that, because I didn't know where or how to fit it in. And I probably did do self-care without knowing that it was self-care, because there was a lot of resting. And I put it as, especially in the book, I put it down as like giving up on work and being just frustrated of trying to figure it all out as a parent and what my role was as mother and how to take care of my child, that I would just end up saying, forget all of my responsibilities and sitting on the couch and resting, not realizing that that rest itself is self-care, and understanding what that would have been able to do if I had the right mindset at the time, to just embrace that and not feel the guilt of not doing something, feeling like I needed to do something.
I was about to say the guilt.
Yeah. So I bet you it is the guilt that new moms, or even just not first time moms, but a new mom again, might feel, is that, well, I was able to do this before this child. Why is this different? And it's not that the activity is different. It's our mindset of getting rid of that guilt, that we're different now. We've got to take this rest in a different way. So how can you appreciate the self-care that you didn't know was self-care as self-care now?
Yep. And therefore, I think the quality of rest that we have can be significantly impacted by that guilt, or by that lacing of needs, unmet needs as well. So if we are resting but still feel like we haven't been able to talk to anyone with any sense at all, because it's all muddled up, because we're absolutely exhausted,
isolated, exhausted.
Yeah,
we haven't talked to another adult in days.
Maybe, or if we have, it was a bit blurry and sort of we can't quite even remember.
It's not what it could be.
Maybe we're attached to the couch for feeding schedules as well. Or maybe we have a baby who just doesn't want to be put down, perhaps. So that was a big part of my journey. Just thinking that I had to detach somehow from this baby because that's what was expected. When by the time I ended up with the fourth, it was just I strapped her on and walked around and away we went. And I think that was actually easier than then trying to force baby to be away from me, because 9 months in and then expecting them on day one to then be independent and solo isn't what I value. And I understand for some people they may need to do that because they've got to get back to work sooner, or they maybe have, in my sister's case, she's got a bad back, right? So she doesn't want to actually carry her newborn around all day. She's also different in her perhaps understanding or beliefs in thinking that that then creates more attachment later on. So there's lots of different things that people can value as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
When you were, for each new postpartum period you entered, did you find yourself discovering new ways that you had to understand the self-care you would have done in the past?
Yes.
Especially when you were carrying and like.
Yes, definitely. And I think personally for me, it actually became easier carrying babies around than trying not to. Actually, because I could get outside much easier that way. I could make dinner with much more care and attention and effort.
Yeah. I would say baby carrier was one of the game changers for us too, and using it to our advantage instead of just having it and thinking it would work. It actually, putting it to practice did help a lot. You're right, getting outside. I mean, it's simple, but it is overlooked. I mean, there's so much benefit that we can have from walking around outside on just the ground, from grounding itself. Even being able to just go for a walk and getting that fresh air in our lungs, the sunshine. There's just so much positive that comes from being exposed to nature. That alone, well, it can feel like a daunting task. If you can just get into your front yard or backyard, or just walking on the sidewalk on your street, simple, free. Might take a little bit of effort to get yourself put together and a baby in a carrier, especially if they don't like the carrier at first. But it might be an introductory way to figuring out the self-care that works for you in the postpartum season.
It was a game changer for me, definitely. And then being able to include others in that as well, so they were able to carry baby as well, which then may relieve some stress or pressure on mums as well. What about other things? Because a lot of these things are actually free, essentially. So getting outside, baby carrier or carrying your baby around is relatively inexpensive. Another thing that comes to mind is naps. So taking a nap with baby.
And not feeling, I feel like we brush it off, nap when the baby naps, because we're like, well, the baby's napping. I get to do what I want to do now. Stop. You're not wasting my Band-Aids.
Oh, yes.
Where's your Band-Aids? Yes, you do. Go find them. But
for you.
what was I going with that? Getting
Nap when the baby naps.
with the baby naps. Thank you. Just do it. Like the guilt, we're gonna feel it regardless, but it's the sleep is more important than the guilt. And a lot of times I feel that we want to nap with our babies when we are nap trapped. So go ahead. If you're nap trapped, just give into it. Like relax. Even if you don't take a nap. Sit into that relaxation. Don't scroll your phone where your mind is having to be used or just becomes numb a little bit. It's sit into it. Go ahead. You will be okay. I mean, set yourself up well so you don't present yourself in a dangerous situation for you and your baby. But you'll be okay to take a nap with your baby and just go ahead and everything that you would probably have to do during that nap can wait until you can wear the baby and do it with them or something. Like I was doing the dishes and like you said, cooking with Declan in my baby wrap for a lot of the time because I needed to get work done and I did try to take naps with him.
It is. I also want to appreciate the fact that it can be quite difficult to do that, especially if you do have a toddler as well. Or if you're feeling pressure to cook dinner, perhaps, or clean the bathroom, or there's a lot of pressures on us. And so self-care in postpartum can be hard to do at the best of times, I think. It can be actually very difficult. So we can only speak to our experiences, and we know that other people definitely may have different lives or understandings. And I believe that we really do need to start having these conversations about it, though, because it's something that's it's taken for granted, but also very, very overlooked as well.
Yeah.
On how important that is.
And then I think no more. Our friend Melissa Fautoff-Airy says give yourself space and grace. And I think that's so appropriate for mothers in their early postpartum days because one completely new transition of life that you are entering into and something to figure out. But it's also keeping in mind that all the cliched things that this will pass and the days are long and the years are short, all that like cliched stuff is something we do really need to actually remind ourselves because they're only going to be an infant for so long. So it's not that you have to cherish these moments, but you have to just keep doing what you're doing. Like, don't be discouraged that it might not work today because you both didn't get enough sleep or the feedings were off or something just was a little bit off, but tomorrow it might work. And then give you that encouragement again to do it again and again and again because they will grow up to be in a situation where you'll be able to work with your self-care with the baby or with around your toddler or around all four children, just like we're discovering as we go on. And, you know, we didn't listen to everyone that was telling us those things beforehand. We were hard-headed and tried to figure it out on our own to find out, oh, maybe they were a little wise in that. Just giving yourself that space and the grace to learn how you and your baby are going to work together in becoming a family and what you can do for each other and your self-care. But
And one thing that we would like to share in our self-care ideas and our bank that we've collected along the way is staying hydrated and drinking water. Drinking water. Because as simple as it sounds, it's so very often overlooked. And if you are breastfeeding or just had a baby, it's so important to keep hydrated. It's so important.
And water over coffee beans is not always the best hydration. No, the water, actual just water.
And if you have some babies like mine, they didn't react well when I drank coffee and was breastfeeding. They were up more that night than other nights. So I actually quit it completely. That was probably actually part of my self-care because it was a much better solution for them and for me to have that better quality sleep than need a coffee for 6 months. And that's another phase that passed. And now I'm able to have it again. So, yeah.
I did not even consider that. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I didn't experience that, but I did not even consider that. Wow.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Mm-hmm.
But yes, definitely it's a simple way to take care of yourself is to just keep hydrated and keep drinking your water. So
yeah.
Eventually we'll steal it from you and you just have to keep getting more. So
Indeed. Mm-hmm. Or you get the backwash. That's always fun too. Yum. I had some of that tonight. She was like, oh.
I'm like, never mind. I'll get a new cup. Thank you.
Yeah. She's decided she doesn't want anything to do with the high chair. So she now wants to sit at the table with everybody. And so that's fun too. She steals everybody else's water, tries to get on the table. We had the mistake of plates tonight, so half the dinner ended up all over the table as well. And then she wanted to sit on my lap. So wherever you are on your postpartum journey, and until next week,
we hope you can unstuck your mess.
Good luck.
Bye. Bye.